Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a little bit of writing for Molly. Molly is a 440 tender engine, one of a group of classes which were called Claude Hamiltons. These were fast and fairly powerful 440s, meant for express trains on the Great Eastern Railway. Throughout their lifetime, they'd all be upgraded to a high standard, with Belpaire fireboxes feeding a large superheated boiler. They were of such a solid design that when it came time to replace them, the next step up was basically the same engine with an extra set of driving wheels, which would become the LNER B12. So, when her first job on the island of Sodor is pulling empty coal wagons, she's made fun of by an even older express engine. Now, here's the thing. I can get over her being shy, and I can even get over her doing dirty goods work. Insecurity's fine, but they just abandon her after that, and we don't address her anxiety and insecurity ever again. We hardly acknowledge her at all after this episode. I think we can do better than that, though. So allow me to do some writing, a bit of character building, even if it is over a decade late. First, what are our goals with Molly? Well, we want to work her into the main cast in a way that doesn't make her feel like she's being shoved down our throats. Second, we want her to undergo an arc which results in her being more confident and at least more respected. Next, we want her to have a job, something she does more than anyone else, or maybe something only she does. While she is an express engine, she's well out of date for that sort of work. She isn't too big to go on branch lines, however, because she weighs around the same as Boko when you count her tender. And even if that weren't the case, if Henry can go down to Brendam Docks, Molly sure can. We know what she is, what she can do, and who she is at the start of her run on the show. Her first episode already exists, so we'll start the next day. She's had a jab at Gordon, but hasn't dealt with anyone else, or really proven her mettle yet. I see her waking up in the sheds the next day. Maybe she's in Thomas or Percy's berth, or maybe she took Henry's spot after he left to take the Kipper. There's a million ways to open a spot for her for one night, and that's all that matters. She just needs to be present for the morning banter. Gordon belittles Molly like he does to everyone, but Emily and James really tear her down, making fun of dirty engines doing unimportant work. In truth, Emily feels threatened by Molly, being another old passenger engine of an elegant design, and James is simply projecting his insecurity like a spotlight onto Molly. James gets an important job that day and finds out that the train is too long. Despite all the torment, Molly volunteers to jump in and proves herself to James as a fast, strong engine. I'm thinking that important job is some sort of express train, which is what Molly was built for in the first place. Sir Topham Hatt praises her for her work, and even Gordon compliments her on saving an express service. This doesn't resolve anything with Emily, but it shuts James up and builds her confidence. Even Emily had to be impressed. James is still James though. He's arrogant and he thinks he's better than Molly, a more capable engine, which he technically is correct about. He's much stronger, much better at taking heavy trains, better at climbing arguably, but he openly respects her abilities and treats her as one of the big engines, so to speak. I think we can do more with Emily though. She doesn't actually hate Molly, she's just worried about her place on the railway. This is a common story tool with old characters in the show, but I think if anyone has a right to be concerned, it is Emily. She's a sterling single, and at this point the oldest character in the show. She has terrible adhesion, poor hill climbing ability, poor acceleration, and to her credit, a reasonably high top speed. It's my limited understanding that she spends her time working on commuter services mainly on the railway, taking stopping trains around the island to move people. Molly is faster, stronger, better at starting off, while also not being all that egotistical about her capabilities. Emily may feel like she's going to be replaced, and at the very least lose her work. Unlike with James, I don't think Emily needs to fall on her face to learn her lesson. No, I think Emily just needs to see that in practice, Molly isn't a threat. We can start by having Molly do commuter work alongside boat trains. Trains from the big ocean crossing ships at the docks to important places on the island. Let's say Molly runs a boat train from Knapford Harbor to Kildare, meaning she's along the main line and running fast, clearly working herself hard in front of the other big engines. So Gordon will respect her as an express engine, James will be both envious and impressed, Henry's gonna think it's neat, and kinda stick to himself. He does mostly goods in this era. And Emily, well, Emily will see that Molly has bigger fish to fry than stealing stopping services. Maybe to get in her good graces, Molly can swap jobs with Emily sometimes, to help her relive her time as an express engine. Over time, I could see this helping Emily soften up on her, and help Molly come out of her shell and make a good friend. Henry wouldn't really have to be won over. Molly and Henry might enjoy the peace and quiet together, and generally enjoy their work on their own. But at this point, Gordon will have seen Molly break through to James and soften up Emily's general harsh attitude, while also seeing her pull expresses and very well. Of course, he'll still talk about how he's better. He does that to everybody. but he'd also respect her as a former LNER Express engine. He also wouldn't have her constantly itching to take his Express like James wants to, and that might put him at ease. She would have her boat trains, and that's enough for her. I don't think she'd have a hard time getting along with Thomas or Percy in this era, or Duck and Oliver. The tank engines all seem to be a bit more focused on their work, so past this point she could ease on into the steam team, and there you go. More female representation in the main cast, no need to force it. These changes can happen naturally over the course of 2 seasons or so, and people would grow to love her separately. Molly and her gentle demeanor is quite unique in the cast, and I think most characters could bounce quite well off of her. Might I propose to you an episode idea? Molly is already in the core cast. She wants to learn how to shunt. Thomas tries to teach Molly how to shunt between his jobs and her jobs and gets frustrated, as she's not learning very fast, only to ask Edward for help. Edward is in terrible shape in these seasons, both in physical condition and as a character, but this would give him an opportunity to help a friend in Thomas and make a new one with Molly, and show his protective side by telling the big engines essentially to go away when they tease her for shunting. Molly learns how to shunt, learns better how to stand up for herself, and we get an episode with some fighty classic seasons Edward. Throughout all that I've proposed, her anxiety doesn't go away, she just gets a handle on it. Her work with fast trains makes her feel more secure in her place on the island, she endears herself to the big engines one at a time, whole character made that easy. Simplest arc in the world, made so it doesn't have to happen all at once. It's made interesting by the traits she showed at the start of the series as well. There's so much wasted potential here, and there's the same for more characters. Murdoch, Hank, Neville, Billy, Charlie, Rosie. Who's next? I don't know. We'll see when I get the energy to cover them.